Do you want to know how to weather and paint your freight cars? Why don't you stick around and watch how we do it on my N-scale model railroad, the Sahara Secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and N-scale. Welcome back to the paint shop. So this month on the paint shop, we're going to be working on some cylindrical hoppers. Cylindrical hoppers. So these models that I have here, they're actually from a company called Delaware Valley. Kind of a small scale manufacturer that used to produce really niche market items and was acquired by Bowser. I don't know if they're still producing anything under the Delaware Valley name, but I was able to get a lot of 6 cylindrical hoppers that came up on Facebook on the N-scale yard sale. So I really liked them. I like the cylindrical hoppers. They look cool. It's very, very rare kind of thing to see. So I was like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. I pulled the trigger, got them here. They are in New York Central paint scheme. So I went to the book. So to do my research, I kind of went to the book, and this is the book that I use. This is Conrail's Color Guide to Freight Equipment, 76 to 87 by Larry D. Young. For Conrail modelers, I think this is a must, especially for that time period. So he breaks it down into types, and then he goes into depth on which classes. So I think we're looking at the class that we're looking at is 928H. Those came from New York Central. So that's going to be kind of my... over here on this page right here, that's going to be the car that we're going to be using for our ideas and for the numbering. So I went online, ordered Conrail's black lettering sets for ballast cars, and I think that's appropriate. And we'll just have to piece together the numbers from the set, and I got those from Microscale. And then the paint we're going to use, looking at the Conrail forums, it looks like SP light lettering gray is going to be the closest match to Conrail's gray. And I got that from Model Flex. The other thing about these Delaware Valley cars is I did throw them on the scale when I first got them, super light. We're going to be needing to add some weight to them. So we'll work through that, and I'll show you all that in the video. So, why don't you sit back, watch the video, and enjoy, and I'll talk to you afterwards. Okay, so the first thing we do is we go ahead and soak the cars in alcohol overnight, and then we scrub off the paint. After a day, we wash them and let them dry, and we come in the spray booth here for priming. I'm using Model Flex Primer Gray, and I'm just going through and spraying each car with primer. You'll notice some of the cars, they separated into pieces, so I just did the best I could to keep them all together and spray them all at the same time. Once the primer is all done, we're going to let it set up overnight, and then we'll come back at the next day and get ready to start painting the gray. Okay, so here we are the next day painting the light gray on the cars. We let them dry overnight, and then I'm just going to come in here and work through the whole group of the cars, and then we'll set them up to dry. paint's all dry now, so the next day I come in and start putting the cars together. The other thing about these, when I bought them, they had no trucks on them, so I'm going ahead and install the Microtrains trucks and couplers. Then we'll weigh them, and we'll add the weight that's appropriate, glue that into the inside of the car, and get them ready to go on to decals. Okay, so at this point I've been doing a lot of research, and I've made a determination that these cars, even though they look like the 928H class, they're actually really close to the H44 class because of their structural integrity. So I kind of just made the determination to go with the H44. Also, the other thing is I think the 928s might have been like an interim class, and then they were rolled into the H44s. Not too sure on that, still researching it. But the other thing was the decal sheets didn't have the 928H classifications. So here's a good example of the decal work. Getting really proficient at using that microsol and the clear over the top to seal it all in. So my decal process is really coming together. Back down in the spray booth doing weathering. We're just going to weather going off of the photographs that I was following for the decal process, and we're going to use the little applications of weathering powders and some airbrushing, and then you'll see me use some makeup applicators. I'm using pan pastels for that process, and I find when you want to get the rust to bleed through, I think the makeup applicators with the pan pastels produces a really good result. And then when we're all done with the weathering, we're going to seal it up with Tester's dull coat. Really kind of made that the standard for all my cars because it really prevents the rubbing off of all the hard work that you put into it. Okay, here's the finished products. All right, everyone, so there you go. That's how we did it. Wow, that was so much fun. That is probably my favorite car project I've ever done. So those Delaware Valley cars are really nice. Converting them over to Conrail, I learned a lot. And I have to give a shout out. I've never met the gentleman. I don't even know if he's still around. But Grant Lowry. If it wasn't for Grant Lowry, I would have never learned about these cars. Grant Lowry is a photographer. He posted tons of pictures on the Conrail Historical Society's photo archive. And he had so many different photographs of the H44 class. And what I loved about this class was no two cars were the same. It seems like Hollidaysburg or Sam Rayburn, they were all like little variations between shifts of them doing this paint job. And that was what was so much fun about it. So what I ended up doing is I just had my laptop right next to me as I was doing decal work, and I would just go and look at Grant's photographs of each car. And then, because I made it those pictures and I had that picture, I used that to influence my weathering when I was doing the car. So they're kind of almost replicas of his photographs. You know, I can't get them totally perfect, but they're really close. Decal wise though, it is exactly in his picture. That's what I did. So much fun. It's really cool when you look at the whole string, you see the little variations. So yeah, that's what really made the project. Just to let you know, is the paint that I used. It used to be called SP Light Lettering Gray from Model Flex, but now they just call it SP Light Gray. So that is a really good, that is almost a perfect match for Conrail's gray hopper color. So yeah, paint went on really good. Decal wise, I used the microscale Conrail black hoppers, or gray hopper with black lettering set. The only thing that you run into with that set is when you're doing the classifications, you can only get 2 cars out of each sheet because they only give you 4 H44 labels. So consequently, keep that in mind when you're planning to do this. If you are able to get these cars, you're only going to get 2 cars per sheet. Weathering wise, I just went off the photograph and tried to emulate what I saw in the photograph using various different techniques, weathering powders, weathering pastels, airbrushing, and then all sealing it up with dull coat. Definitely. I'm into sealing everything with the dull coat now, because with handling, when you're doing operations, it doesn't rub off. So that's why I did it with all the cars. And the last thing we're going to say is I don't know if it's done on purpose or if it's a manufacturing defect, but it seems like a lot of the Delaware Valley cars actually had like some dents in the sides. So it kind of looks cool, because if you look at a lot of the pictures that Grant took, you'll see there's some cars with some damage. And so it was a pretty neat little side note that I kind of noticed after I was into the project. And the other thing I did with the Delaware Valley cars, is I put some weight in them. I kind of overweighted them because they are such slender, tall cars that they have a tendency to wobble. And if you're not careful and you just kind of bump it with the uncoupling tool, they will tip over. So by putting a little extra heavy weight towards the bottom, it lowered that center of gravity, and it doesn't wobble as much, but it still kind of teeter-totters. As for converting them over to the microchange trucks and adding the weight, they still run really, really good, nice and smooth. But you just have to worry about the tipping. Personally, if you're dealing with helixes, I would not put them at the front of the train, because you'll have a string-line derailment in the helix, and that was because I know from a fact it actually happened. So put those cars on the rear of the train along with your empty I-beam cars, because of just the high center of gravity, they're gonna string line derailment in your helix. So that's my tip for you with these cars. All right, so that's going to wrap up this paint shop. I hope you had fun watching this one, because this one was a lot of fun for me. It was a very enjoyable project. It took a while, but the end result was well worth it. So don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notifications, because we'd love to have you follow along. And otherwise, I'll see you next time on the paint shop. Thanks for watching. Bye.